Wednesday at his budget presentation to the National Assembly that revenue performance is a source of concern. He said it was a low level of growth in that area. But of course, he says there will be further actions to be taken next year to improve revenue generation. And of course, I guess that was what the Honorable Minister for Budget and National Planning, Udoma, spoke to yesterday when he says, quote, there will be increased vigor to improve revenue collection in the new year. Revenue collection, but we need to grow this revenue before you can collect it. I'm asking Taiwo Oyedele, a partner at PwC Nigeria and the West Africa Tax League about this. We need to collect tax, or we need to collect more revenue, whether in form of tax or whatever. But we first need to generate that revenue first. So, open this up.
Yes, so if you look at the revenue components, or the component of revenue of the government, you see it's oil revenue, non-oil revenue, mostly taxes, and then others. Now, if you think about it, look at the benchmark for 2019 for the price of crude oil, it's $60. But for 9 months in 2018, the average was $74. And interestingly, government is budgeting more revenue from oil for 2019 at 60 than they actually collected in 2018 at 74. So you see, some of these things are inconsistent. But if you look at that, my view is that the oil revenue target for 2019 is unrealistic, it's too optimistic. If we then move on to non-oil, which is mostly tax, I worry that in your report as we started, that the minister was saying that they're going to introduce new taxes. This is exactly one of the biggest problems we have. We have multiplicity of taxes, and we think the solution to our problem is to introduce more taxes. Whereas the rest of the world is actually harmonizing and reducing the number of taxes. So where would the money get from? How can we expand the tax base? We need to start focusing on taxing the right things and the right people. We tax too much of investment and production. It's counterintuitive. We also tax the wrong people. So the top 1% of society in the US pays more than the bottom 90%. In the UK, they pay more than the bottom 75%. In South Africa, the top 1% pays more than the entire bottom 99%.
Or South Africans?
Yes. In Nigeria, you know the people that are paying? The bottom people, the bottom 10, the bottom 20%. You can beat them up from now until kingdom come, and nothing is going to come out of it. We need to start focus. Even the presidency and the National Assembly has not remitted PAY of their staff for over 5 years, based on the report by the Auditor General for the Federation. And you have the Electoral Amendment Bill has now removed the requirement for political parties to ask for tax clearance certificates. On one hand, you're asking yourself, are we really a serious people? We know we have revenue challenges, almost a crisis, but every action we take seems to contradict the fact that we want to raise that revenue
So
base.
it's an economy of the government, not for the people, or for the people, or by the government. Because that report, you just talk about the Auditor General, that even government agencies hasn't paid their own tax to the same government.
Correct.
And that's
including the presidency,
including
the National Assembly.
Yes, and the National Assembly.
Yes.
They haven't paid their own tax.
They haven't paid. And then sometimes it's not about the amount you pay, but it's symbolic. It's something that tells me about the tone from the top. You have to lead by example. Plus, in the bigger picture of things, you don't just keep talking about tax. Someone said that tax is like fruit. You pluck it from planting trees. So the fruits you are getting today were based on the trees you planted yesterday. You can't just hope and wish that you get more revenue from taxes. You have to start making that investment. Plant the seed now, don't eat it. Allow investment to come in. Create economic growth and development. The taxes you get from Apple and Google alone in 3 months can fund our entire budget. Why don't we create our own Apples, our own Googles? So at the end of the day, we have to focus strategically on how do we create economic activities so that when people are employed, they not only pay personal income taxes, they pay VAT from their consumption. Companies grow, they make profit, they pay companies income tax. That is how you run economy.
This is the bad news out of the entire conversation with you, that government agencies don't pay their own tax.
They don't pay.
They owe in electricity bills.
Yes.
And revenue they collected, they're not remitted. At least the budget DG says 3 days ago that about 50 government agencies are owing about 2.3 trillion naira.
These are things we shouldn't say out because it's embarrassing. Imagine that you have, as an employer, you have employees. You say, well, I'm in trouble because my employees are not remitting. So you have MDAs, you appoint the heads of the MDAs, and they're not remitting their surpluses, and you seem helpless. Fire them.
It's difficult to collect this money. Because this morning, which was part of what was said yesterday, was even the NNPC, according to Udoma, the Honorable Minister of Budget and National Planning, says, to immediately start the recovery of all outstanding obligations, including from Nigerian Petroleum Development Company. So the government oil company is still owing the government himself.
Yes. It's very amazing. It's almost like what you see in movies. That should never happen. Because one, you need
to... So this is where the big money really is.
Yeah, it's a lot of money that and you see, we have money. You remember when they introduced TSA and it was implemented, it was just some money was coming from different places. There were some MDAs who had no idea how many bank accounts they had. So on one hand, you have revenue challenges. On the other hand, even the simple things that are called the low-hanging fruits that you can just deal with to, one, block leakages, increase your revenue. We are not doing them. We make them look like they're rocket science stuff to do. But that shouldn't be as difficult.
We need to make this budget work. But again, if you look at over the last 3 years, this is President Buhari's final budget for his first term. Give us your assessment, just about a minute, what you think, or how you think is run this budgetary cycle over the last 3.5 years, and this is the fourth.
Yeah, I think, I'll give the credit to the Buhari administration for the willingness to be transparent. For the first time, we're seeing government budget details online, and Nigerians all became auditors, auditing numbers. But then if you move a step beyond that, and you say, what is really the strategy driving the budget? You will struggle to find some consistency from one year to the other. And unfortunately, also, the National Assembly has not been cooperating enough. If they're not doing budget padding, they're trying to negotiate consistency projects. Those things don't help. We must begin to think about Nigeria first. No matter our political affiliation and interest, we have to work together. The same thing with sub-national level, state and local government. At the end of the day, this is about Nigeria. And that leadership must be provided by President Buhari and his team.
Okay, great. This new budget is about inclusiveness, it's about diversification and growth sustenance. So it's technically put a budget of continuity. Break it down for us.
Yes.
Inclusiveness, growth sustenance, and of course, diversification.
Yes, inclusiveness is great. Unfortunately, when the economy was growing, even during Jonathan's time, at 7-6%, it wasn't inclusive. So we left a lot of Nigerians behind. Unfortunately, when we got into recession, it was super inclusive. We carried everybody along in the poverty, which is not surprising that we're now the poverty capital of the world. So if you focus on inclusiveness, I'll say brilliant. But it's not about what you say, it's about what you do. How are you going to implement that in reality? How much of private sector involvement do you have? And so on and so forth. When you talk about growth, I think Nigeria should stop focusing on growth and start focusing on development. Because really, it's when you have economic development that you carry everybody along and you address different aspects of the economy. So sustainability, also brilliant. But how do you implement that? Look at the ERGP. We also have this policy trust embedded into the ERGP, including investing in people. And Bill Gates said when he came, and some of us do agree with him, that we are not investing enough in our people. Look at the 2019 budget just proposed. The small amount of money we have allocated to education, healthcare, even vocational training, because it's unrealistic to expect that everybody will get, jobs at banks, at oil companies, and so on and so forth. So if you put it all together, we need to say, long term, this is where we want to get to, and this is how we make that journey on an annual basis, and being realistic about it, carrying every stakeholder along in that journey.
So, where do you situate the ERGP within the budget performance outlook for next year?
If you look at the different, the various indicators of the budget around revenue, how you generate it, look at the expenditure, both recurrent and capital, and then you try and reconcile it with the ERGP. It's very difficult to reconcile in some cases. So if you take investing in our people, not so much in it. if you take being globally competitive, not so much. To be honest, to be globally competitive is not about how much money you spend, it's about your policies. Why are we struggling with power generation when there are loads of companies around the world with billions of dollars looking for where to invest? They will so gladly come here. Why are we struggling with rail? There are guys who do that for a living and they do world-class standards. Fix your policy and you become globally competitive. We went up 24 places on the Ease of Doing Business ranking by the World Bank, excuse me, and then this year we've gone down by one spot because that is not sustained. So it's not just about saying it, we have to be doing it. And if you look at long term, medium to long term, so also should be our outlook and the way we plan, even our annual budget from time to time.
So do you think the administration needs a new set of men to run the economy?
Not necessarily. It would be good to have some fresh ideas because we have a lot of brilliant Nigerians, both locally and abroad. But I also think about putting the right people in the right places, even within the current administration. So if you're talking about budget and economy planning, I would expect a top economist. If you're talking about things around power and infrastructure, maybe not a lawyer. So there are people who, if you ask a fish, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live the rest of its life thinking that it was dumb because it's not designed to climb a tree. Within this government, make sure people are focused on the areas where they are most competent and then inject fresh blood from outside, fresh perspective. We all have the brilliant ideas. The problem is getting it implemented.
Okay, so in terms of new professionals, how do you take this budget moving forward? Because whether we like it or not, we've got to work with what we have. This is the truth.
Yeah.
No, it's not as funny. Because whether it is crude, whether it is blunt, whether it is very sharp, we've got to work with it.
Yes, yes. You're right, we have to work with what we have, but as a professional, and I think that's the general view as well for analysts, is that not only should you be looking at the federal government budget, but also the state budgets. For 2019, the states across Nigeria budgeted about 9 trillion of what they're going to spend, when in reality, the IGR they collected is under 1 trillion. The money they shared from the center was under 2 trillion. So where was that difference going to come from? So the same thing at the federal government level. For 2019, we're budgeting to spend on debt service alone 150% of the non-oil revenue. Can you imagine the entire non-oil revenue going to the federal government is less than the amount we're going to spend on debt service? Within all these uncertainties and indicators that are not really very encouraging, I think the outlook is manage yourself as best as you can, prepare for different scenarios of what can happen, whether you're an investor. I do think that the long-term prospects and the fundamentals for Nigeria remain very promising. We just have to, stop living on potentials and living on realities. Because when I was a little kid, they said, potential, leaders of tomorrow. We still haven't seen those things. I'm now fully grown. I'm
you still have potential.
A grandpa.
No, you still have. You're still full of potential.
Yes.
Yeah. That's good. We are full of potential.
Yes, yeah. But
we need to.
But you can't take that to the market. So you go to the market.
It's progress that you take to and performance that you take to the market.
Absolutely.
So it is something from potential to progress to performance.
Yes.
That's the PPP.
Yes, indeed. So look at the capital market, the entire market cap of listed equities in Nigeria. It's not even enough to fund anything. It's under $40 billion. South Africa, and I was glad that I think it was, I can't remember who said this, because in government they also believe this and they acknowledge it. Almost $1 trillion. And that's a smaller economy. So if you want to fund anything and you go to the capital market that is $1 trillion, you can almost do anything you want. You go to a $40 billion capital market, it's almost impossible to do anything. So why don't we have Nigeria's capital market at 1 trillion, at 2 trillion? It's policy again. It's down to policies. So we need to start thinking, and I think this thing will not happen overnight. And it has to be a government that says, even if nobody gives me credit for anything, I'll start building the foundation. You don't tend to see foundations when they're being constructed, because it's just some very untidy work, not very appealing.
Most people
everybody in Nigeria wants to be the one that commissions the house. So you think about something you can start and finish in 1 year. That doesn't get us.
That looks like fast food.
Yes.
Like a fast food restaurant.
Strategy.
Have we had breakfast today?
Not yet.
Not yet. Don't go to a fast food. Go to a Taiwo Oyedele, enjoy your weekend and your holiday, and see you back
and
in the new year.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Taiwo Oyedele, partner and West Africa tax lead at PwC Nigeria.